we are together. When we are experiencing storytelling, we are together. We're breathing together, listening together. Everything that Maja Bumberák talked about, truth and story together. Everything that Polina Tšerkassova talked about, the sounds that we can make, whether with instruments or our bodies, together. And what Giorgiana beautifully talked about, being together and creating and making the story together. It's all about community, it's all about togetherness. Neuroscience tells us there's a lot going on in our brains through storytelling. And we're not talking about storytelling when we're reading aloud from a book or we're reciting from a text. Rather, when we are creating the story anew, every time the story is shared, the words may shift a little bit according to the people we're telling our story with. It's created anew every time, because even if I've told that story 10 times before, or even 100 times before, I've never told it with this particular group of listeners before. So it's always freshly recreated in the hearts of our listeners, in our ears and our minds. Storytelling can be very sensory. We're not just talking about the pictures that we make in our mind's eye, the sounds that we hear. And some of you, when you're listening to a story, are not just hearing the sounds in the room, we're also hearing the sounds in our imaginations. We're feeling the textures and the sensations of warmth and cold. You know, if you hold a lemon in your hand, can you hold a lemon in your hand? And can you take a big bite of that lemon right now, everybody? Oh. Yeah. And what's happening? You're thinking, you're experiencing the sensation of biting into a sour lemon. You're imagining it. You can't stop yourself from imagining it. So the same brain activity is happening when we're listening, when we're engrossed in a narrative, when we're engrossed in a story, as what's happening when we're actually doing that action, when we're actually having that sensory experience, whether it's taste or sound or smell or visual imagery. I'd like to tell you a story. If I'm telling you a story and you're listening, you are imagining all of those things. And when we're telling a story and you're telling the story together with me, that might be even more enhanced. And especially with children, but I would argue also with teenage learners, whether they're learning another language like English, or whether they're developing their language knowledge in Romanian. If they're telling the story with you, verbally and physically, the story will be very memorable and a powerful experience. I'm going to tell a very, very simple story. If you think, oh, my English isn't so good, don't worry. You will understand this story. It's a story that you will understand because there's a lot of repetition in the story. We're going to use our hands. Can you show me your hands? And we're going to, sometimes I will even stop and you will tell the story without me. Yeah, believe me, it's possible. And this story I learned from a child from Palestine, a child from Gaza. I've learned a lot of stories from children in Gaza over the last 7 years, and I learned this story in 2021. These are some of the children in Gaza who I've learned stories from. And I learned this story from a girl called Malaki. If I say story, story, you can say, tell us a story, and I know that you're with me. Let's try. Story, story.
Tell us a story.
Brilliant. One more time. Story, story.
Tell us a story.
A child went to their parent and asked, how can I live the best life? You want to know how to live the best life, said the parent. There are 3 things you must remember. 3 things you must always do. 1, always eat the best food. Can you use your hands, everybody, and together? Always eat the best food. Always sleep in the best bed.
Always sleep in the best bed.
And 3, always live in the best houses.
Always live in the best houses.
And the child said, how can I do that? We're poor. How do you say poor in Romanian? Yes. Everybody, can you say it? We're poor.
We're poor.
We have so little. How can I eat
The
best food?
How can I
Sleep in the best bed.
How can I live in the best houses? Listen, child, said the parent. Only eat when your belly is empty and you are so hungry. And whatever you eat will be
The best food.
Work hard all day long, from morning till night. And at the end of the day, you will be so tired that wherever you lay your head will be
The best bed.
And my child, most important of all, treat every single person that you meet in your life with respect, and listen to their stories, because when you listen to the stories of other people, you will be welcomed into their hearts. And when you live in the hearts of others, then you are living
In the best house.
The child listened, and the child remembered, and the child lived their best life. When we learn a story like that, where we're participating together, does it help with language development?
Yes.
Does that story stick in your mind?
Yes.
Why? Is it partly because of the repetition? Is it because we were physical? We were doing the story with our bodies. We were making the story together. Did you notice the 3 repetitions? The first time I said the best food, the best bed, the best houses, I said it. And then you repeated after me, right?
Yes.
The second time, was it the same? The second time, we said it together. What about the third time?
It was us selling.
You were saying the repetition, and most of the time I was quiet. So if you look at it in a story where there's a lot of repetition, working with children, we can work from them repeating after the storytelling teacher, then repeating with the storytelling teacher, and then we can even hand it over so the children, or young people, or adults, are telling the story. We are telling the story. It's no longer my story, it's
Our story.
We're doing it together. That's not the only way of interacting during a story. We might pause for a moment and ask learners to predict what do you think is going to happen next. We might invite an opinion. Do you think he was right? We might ask about emotion. How does that make you feel? Storytelling is all about imagination and all about emotion. It touches our hearts. And storytelling works across generations. We can be telling stories with preschool children, primary school children, secondary school children, adults, people with learning difficulties, people from different cultural contexts coming together. And you know, storytelling is wonderful across the culture, because storytelling is all about community. We can all tell the story together. I often ask people, that story I just told, do you think it's true? Do you think when you listen to other people's stories, then they welcome you into their hearts? When you live in the hearts of others, you're living in the best houses. Who does that make you think of in your life? Who always listens to you? Maybe there's one person who you're thinking of right now. A person who attends to you. Who you know, however difficult things are, they are always there to listen to you. I'm fortunate, I've got a few of those people in my life. One of those people is Haneen, Khaled, Ga2a. She's a teacher of English from Gaza. She's separated from her family at the moment. She lives in the UK. She's doing her PhD. And together, Haneen and I are doing a project called Tell a Child in Gaza's Tale. Learning stories and inviting people around the world to retell those stories. Storytelling is about us. It's about empathy. And I believe that through storytelling, we can make small shifts in perceptions and understanding. Storytelling offers us the possibility of betterment. Storytelling shows us the world could be different. Storytelling can offer us a better world. So I'm looking forward to all of the workshops. It's a great honour to be here in Romania, in Arad. It's my first time I've ever come to Romania. And thank you, all of you, for making me feel so welcome here in the room, but also I've found everybody I've met so far in Romania has greeted me and welcomed me as a foreigner from a different culture in your land warmly. And really that's what my work is about. It's about encouraging people to be welcoming through storytelling. Remember what I was going to say at the end. I don't know about Romania, but in many parts of the world, at the end of the storytelling, they say, 3 apples fell from the sky. The first apple is for the storyteller. The second apple is for the one who listens. And the third apple, the sweetest apple, is for the one who listens to the stories, remembers the stories, and tells the stories to others. If you feel a connection with any of the stories you've heard today, or any of the stories you hear later today in the workshops or in the workshops tomorrow, I think I can speak for all of us when I say, take the third apple, take our stories, and if it means something to you, and you can imagine telling this story with your learners, your friends, your family, anybody, taste that third apple. Share the stories. Let's make the world a better place.
Thank you, David.